Protestant brother. I've seen a commentary on The Chosen that disparages it because it puts words in Jesus' mouth that he didn't actually say, and because, according to the Protestant brother who made the comment, the series is objectionable because it might be acceptable to Muslims, Jews, atheists, and Catholics, suggesting that it wouldn't be acceptable to Protestants. According to the commentary, Dallas Jenkins is a Protestant and Jonathan Rumi is Catholic. The series gives the impression of being closer to Catholicism. Regarding the first point, it's true that we shouldn't put words in God's mouth that he didn't say, because God's authority is absolute, and we shouldn't confuse anyone. However, if you hear any Protestant or Catholic sermon, the preacher explains to make the text understandable, and in that sense, it should be understood. I recommend everyone read their Bibles and strive to understand what God told us. The scene where Peter forgives Matthew is a very complete analysis of the process of forgiveness and reconciliation. This is difficult and hard to accept, but Jesus said that if we want to be forgiven, we must forgive. I confess I've barely seen the series. I'm only commenting on this section I saw. Regarding the division and discussion between Protestants and Catholics, I'll briefly tell you that if you fight with another person over their religion, you're not a Christian. Jesus commanded, "Love one another as I have loved you." In other words, by harboring hatred in your heart against people you don't even know, you're against Jesus' teachings. Where does the division come from? If you compare the ceremonies of Orthodox Christians, they are almost the same as those of Roman Catholics. These two churches split around the 12th century, as the Orthodox didn't accept the authority of the Pope, among other things. Unfortunately, many popes were more representatives of nobles or their families than of God. Thank God, this was gradually cleansed and controlled by the influence of faithful servants like Francis of Assisi or Saint Dominic, etc. Other courageous Catholic priests advocated for the need for the Bible to be translated into the languages of each people. Names like Casimir Reina and Cipriano de Valera, John Wycliffe, and Martin Luther translated the Bible and promoted its reading. Sadly, it was not until the Council of Trent that the Catholic Church authorities recognized their error and allowed the reading of the Bible in all languages and removed indulgences for money. However, Luther and his companions did not renounce the Blessed Virgin Mary or the sanctity and importance of the Eucharist. Anyone who attends a Lutheran or Anglican service will find many similarities with a Catholic Mass, because this is not a Catholic invention. It comes from the early Jewish Christians, direct followers of Jesus. The Eucharist is vital and cannot be belittled without nullifying the Gospels and the words of Jesus. Read Mark 14.22-24, Matthew 26.26-29, Luke 22:17-20. On the other hand, saying that we are saved by grace and we do not have to keep the law to be saved, is the greatest hypocrisy and denies the words of Jesus. Not everyone who says to me, "Lord, Lord," will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of the Father who is in heaven. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. And many other references with the words of Jesus. Regarding devotion to the Most Holy Mother of God, it is in the Bible that one of God's principal messengers was commanded to give honor and praise to Mary. Read Luke 1 verses 26-38 and Proverbs 31 verse 31. We cannot say that we are saved by grace and believe that Jesus will admit us into his kingdom if we continue to commit adultery, steal, fornicate, exploit workers, sow hatred among brothers, or feel that we are justified in harming others. Currently, North American Protestant churches are fiercely hostile toward Catholics, and do not realize that they are following a dispute between the King of France, Louis XIV, and the King of England. France, with its atheism, Freemasonry, and belief that everything could be discovered and controlled by reason, wanted to seize the English colonies, thus weakening the King of England and thereby defeating him. It invested millions in financing the independence of the English colonies, and this ultimately led to the French Revolution. At that time, there were economically powerful groups that couldn't take over European governments because they were hindered by the kings and the church that supported them for convenience or necessity. These rationalist and Masonic atheist movements clashed with the church that confronted them. In the newly founded United States, they couldn't create an atheist state because there were Puritan immigrants and other groups that defended the religious ideas of those who took refuge in these colonies from the persecution of the Inquisition. So a Protestant church emerged that was chemically opposed to Catholics but preached the Bible and was based primarily on the letters of St. Paul, but ignored everything else. Today, people continue this fight without knowing why. They hate and contradict the scriptures because of inherited quarrels they haven't the slightest idea about. It's not about a Catholic converting to the Protestants or a Protestant converting to the Catholics. But there isn't one heaven for some and one heaven for others. There is only one kingdom of God. And whoever hates and doesn't accept their brothers, I'm not talking about their ideas, risks remaining outside. The Lord said, "Many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Many are surprised by the success of films like The Passion or the TV series The Chosen. The reason is that they speak to us. They remind us of God's love, of Jesus, for whom my pain, my failure, and my misery cause sadness. And he is willing to go to the cross so as not to lose me. He is interested in me and even today listens to me and answers me. I don't need a psychologist to deal with grief or a drug brought from Mars to cure cancer. The love of God in the person of Jesus heals everything, fills my loneliness, and makes me a loved one, a new creation. He gives me a party dress because he loves me. Me. Any church that teaches this as it is written in the Gospels and the entire Bible will be fulfilling its mission. The earth, and whoever does not do so will have to answer to God.